In this presentation, we will work a problem where we will be allocating costs based on a sales value basis. Our information is going to be up top. We're going to put that into our worksheet in the blue areas down below. The scenario will be that we have three departments, A, B, and C, that we will be allocating to. We already have an income statement that we've been using to allocate. However, we've been allocating based on the units, the pounds, for our allocation base. So if we go through our data up top, then we're going to say the sales for A, B, and C are calculated as the number of pounds times the cost per pound, and that's going to give us the number, our sales items up top, the 448.8, the 367.2 multiplied out, and C is going to be the 204. And then we have our costs, which we allocated based on these units as well for the cutting, harvesting, and delivery costs. I'm going to go ahead and format these a little bit. And we're going to say that those were based on the 0.35 and the 0.10 cost per pound. So that means that we're just taking the 204 for A, for the number of pounds, times the 0.35 cost per pound. And then B, we're taking the 204 times the 0.35, and C, we're taking the 1360 times the 0.35, and then here for the harvesting, we had the 0.1, and then the 0.1, and then for the delivery, we broke this out a bit differently. We'll discuss that in a bit, so it was broken out a bit differently. They're hard-coded here. Summing that up, that's our total cost and our net income. So now our idea is, well, what if it would be a better way for us to do this, to allocate these costs based on more of our sales ratio rather than based on the number of pounds. So that's going to be our cost here for our data. Delivery costs for A and B are allocated based on pounds. Reports showing cost allocation on a sales value basis. So that's going to be our goal, to have a sales value basis now. So first we're going to go through the cutting. So we're going to start with cutting. So we're looking at our cutting cost up top. We have our total cost here. We've already allocated it out, but we're now going to try a different allocation base to compare and contrast it, allocating this time based on sales value. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, here's the cutting for A, B, and C, and then give us the total of them. We're going to have the allocated basis. So we have the sales value at this time is, we scroll back up top for A, this 448.8. For B, the sales are the 367.2. For C, the sales are the 204. And that, of course, if we sum that up, we're going to add those up, and that adds up to the 1,020,000. So 1,020,000, that's going to be our total sales. So if I say total sales are going to be the 1,020,000, and then we divide this out. So we're going to take the 448.8 divided by the 1,020,000, and that'll give us our ratio. So we're going to say, all right, here's A's amount of sales divided by the total here. And then we're going to say this equals B's amount of sales divided by the total sales. And then C's amount of sales divided by the total sales. And then if we sum that up, I don't know why this one has so many decimals here. Now we'll sum this up equals the sum of the 44, the 36, and the 20. That gives us the 100%. So now we're going to take our indirect cost, which is going to be the cutting. So this equals, and we're going to scroll back up, and we're picking up the cutting, which is the 618, the total, because we're going to reallocate it. And that's going to be the same all the way down. And then we'll multiply this out. So we're in F21. This equals the 44% of that cost we're going to allocate. This equals the 36% of that cost we're going to allocate. This equals the 20% of that cost we're going to allocate. And then if we sum this up, this equals the sum of the 272, 272, 222, 768, and the 123, 760, or the 618, 800. Okay, so the next thing, we're going to do the same thing, of course, for the harvesting, just basically the same type of data. So we can copy this all the way down. We're going to say this is the same information. We'll just break it out one more time just to see it once again. We're going to take the sales, which equal the 448.8, and the 367.2, and the 204. We'll sum that up. That'll give us the total. That total then is going to be what we use in the denominator of our calculation. For our percentages then are the sales divided by the total sales. So equals the sales for B divided by the total sales. Equals the sales for C divided by the total sales. And now we're looking for the indirect cost, this for the harvesting. So if we say equals and scroll up, we're going to pick up the total, the 176.8, and enter. And equals that same number. And then we'll multiply this out. So this equals the 44% times the 176.8. This equals the 36% times the 176.8. This equals the 20% times the 176.8. Of course, these percentages add up to, summing them, 100%. And these will add up to our total, if we sum them up, of the 176,800. Okay, so now we're going to go to the delivery. So the delivery, we're having a bit different scenario. So I'm gonna copy this same information for A, B, and C. And then if we scroll up to our data, we've got the delivery costs for A and B are allocated based on pounds, indirect costs allocated between A and B. So I'm interpreting that to mean that these two items are the ones that we're going to allocate out. So the 30,800 and the 37,900 is going to be applied to C directly. So we're going to need to allocate these two out between A and B, and then C we're going to keep as is for the hard-coded basically number, the amount allocated directly to C. So, okay, so we're going to go down to the delivery. We're going to basically take our same sales information. So this equals the 4488. This equals the 367.2. And that's going to be it because we're going to be allocating the indirect portion between A and B. So that's going to add up to 816. So then we're going to say, all right, the total is going to be 816, 816. And then we're going to use our percentages. So we're going to say then our percent is just going to be the 4488 divided by 816. And then this is going to be the 367.2 divided by 816. So we did the same thing, except we eliminated C. So we just said, okay, between A and B, this is their total. We're going to allocate the indirect portion based on the sales between those two, and therefore that adds up to 816. So we'll take the A's portion divided by the 816, and there we have it. So then we'll sum up the percentages. And so now we need to pick up the amount that we need to allocate out. This is going to equal the sum. And I'm going to go back up, and I'm going to say that the delivery are going to be these two items. These are the two that we need to allocate based on the sales of those two. And this one, the 37.9, we're going to say is going directly to C. It's going to be part of C's department that we can apply directly out. So we're going to have 45, the 380, 30,800. Okay, and then we'll multiply this out. We're going to say this equals the 55% of times the 30,800. This equals the 45% of the 30,800. And if we add up the total column, then we're going to get that 30,800. Okay, so now we can make an income statement basically based on this information and compare and contrast it. So we know that the sales are going to be, let's just type in sales. For A, the sales are, I'll just pick it up from here, 448,800. For B, the sales are 367,200. And for C, the sales are 204. If we sum that up, equals the sum of, that's going to be the 1,020,000. Then we have the cost, and the cost is going to be the cutting. So we have the cutting cost. That's going to be the first one we calculated up top. See if I can pick that up there. And then we're just going to say for A, if we go back up to cutting, we broke them out in this allocation, ABC, ABC. So we'll say 272,272. And then the next item is for B, for cutting. It's going to be the 222,768. And then C for cutting is going to be the 123,760. And then if we sum those up, that's going to be the 618,800. And then we'll go to the next item, which is harvesting. Tab. And for A, harvesting is going to be the 77,792 tab. For B, the harvesting is going to be 63648 tab. For C, it's going to be the 35360 tab, and then we'll sum those up. And then the next item is going to be the delivery. And the delivery, we're going to say equals, that's going to be the 16940. And then for B, it's going to be the 13860. And then I should put C in here in our allocation up top. C is just going to be equal to our 37900 that we're allocating directly, so that we get to that total of 687, which is this 687. So C is going to be equal to that 37.9. If we sum these up, then we get this 68.7. That's going to be our total costs. So we're going to say total cost equal the sum of these three. Going to go ahead and autofill that across. So I'll select it, put our cursor on autofill, drag it across. Of course, that's the same as highlighting these three, which is 867.3, 864.3, 864.3. And then if we subtract these out, then we will, of course, arrive at net income. So this equals this item, 448,800 minus the 367,004, 81,796. We're going to select that and autofill that across. And then if we highlight these three, we get the 155,700, 155,700. So again, we get back to the same bottom line number, 155,700, but now instead of allocating by pounds, using pounds as the allocation method, breaking it out in this format between A, B, and C, this being the bottom line, being net income. If we use this format, you'll see we see a much different type of allocation, especially over C over here doesn't look quite so bad as it did under the prior allocation. Primarily because we're allocating much less of the cutting to C. As we look up top, we see we add a lot more of the cutting to C. And so we'd have to basically check and analyze, well, which of those type of allocation methods is most appropriate or would give us the best decision making.